Warning, this podcast contains dry humor and sarcasm not suitable to those who can't take a fucking joke. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, we're back. We're starting. Nia's chewing over here. We're doing ASMR from now on.
Hey guys, we are back.
Happy Saturday.
Jess.
It is a nice fall day today, I think. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was perfect. It's like cold and
Getting all the spooky
hoodie
feels
weather.
this year.
Yes.
Yep.
It's perfect. We're getting spooky again this week.
Oh, but we didn't even tell them what they were listening to. If you don't
welcome
know by
to
now,
AntiSocial Murder Club.
Club.
These are your murderers in charge. My
Murderers
name's
in charge.
Myra.
I'm Nia.
And welcome back.
Yes. So back to what you were talking about. We're
Yes.
keeping up with our spooky theme.
Yes, we are. So we got a couple of vampire tales, couple witch tales on this fine Saturday.
Supernatural things.
Supernatural things, yes. It's a lot harder to find, because I think we're trying to keep up with, the whole murder thing, obviously. It's a lot harder to find, spooky ghost things connected to murders that aren't just hey, someone got murdered and there's a ghost.
Yeah.
There's
Or
enough substance there.
The person who murdered claims a ghost made him do it.
Exactly.
But it might be
It's
fucking crazy. You just don't.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I guess we'll get started?
Yeah. Who's going first? You again?
I guess I'll go first.
That's our usual pattern.
my notes here.
All
right. So I took on the task to cover the Salem witch trials.
Yes!
Because I love Hocus Pocus. And, I love Hocus Pocus. That's basically it.
I got excited when you said this because The Crucible was my favorite when I was in school.
Really?
We had to read it, and then I used to watch the movie all the time. And then, of course, I was obsessed with witches anyway, so it was my thing.
We had to read it, but I honestly don't remember anything.
Really?
I've blocked everything from high school out, so I don't remember.
That might be the only thing I do remember. So...
Yeah, but this is, so warning here, this is basically anything that I'm interested in, I went into detail about. Everything else, if you want to learn about history and the colonies and freaking purists and Puritans or God knows what else, look, Wikipedia that shit, ask a history teacher, because this ain't it. This is not it. I had to, I wanted to look into, I wanted to do really well with this, but then as soon as they started talking about charters and kings and queens and governor, I was just yeah, no, this is where I draw the line.
I'm here for the murder.
This is enough,
not for history.
Exactly. And actually, I don't think I'm going to talk a lot about murder, but it's just something spooky that actually happened in real life, and to prove that injustice in the American government has happened since the very beginning of time.
Is this turning into a different podcast? Because we can talk about that if you want.
I mean, might as well touch on it right now.
Yeah, but once I chime in, you'll get some more murder, and so
Excellent.
Nice little balance in there.
Excellent. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a little, unknown fact to me. I don't know if you knew this, but during the time of the whole Salem witch trials in England and across Europe, the witch hunt and witch hysteria was pretty widespread from the 1300s to the end of the 1600s. So it had been going on for a long time. Tens of thousands of so-called witches were executed, and the Salem witch trials came up while the hysteria in Europe was actually winding down. So this had been going on for a long ass time.
That makes sense, kind of like slavery. They abolished it in Europe before they did here, but
look.
Sips on tea.
Let me sip on my tea right quick. All right, so this is going to be an extremely brief kind of history or background, whatever. So, as y'all may know from freaking high school history or whatever, William and Mary started what became known as King William's War, a war with France in America. And if you want to know more, like I said before, about this whole, it lasts it's the 9 Years' War. Mm-hmm. Check Wikipedia, because I'm not going to go into... We'll end up sleeping, because it's so fucking boring. So this war sent people fleeing from the war-torn areas, which are modern-day New York, Nova Scotia, and Quebec, to the Massachusetts Bay Colony area, specifically Salem Village, which is actually present-day Danvers, Massachusetts. And Salem is actually, like... Modern-day Salem, Massachusetts isn't where it used to be, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Which doesn't... I don't understand why you would change it. Just leave Salem. I don't know. So, obviously, a mass influx of people on such a relatively small area, especially back in the 1600s, it caused a strain on Salem's resources. This slowly evolved into rivalries between the new people and intensified rivalries between families who were already living in Salem. Apparently, during this time, everybody was fighting with everybody. Like, neighbors were at each other's throats, like, every little thing. Like, I read somewhere that, like, there was, like, a big family rivalry in Salem, and people would get into fights with each other because of the sides that they took or the opinions on that fight.
What?
Exactly.
Maybe this is what happens during war and what is it?
You got nothing to do?
Yeah.
Famine?
Yeah, famine.
Like,
you have nothing better to do but to argue with each other.
When I read that, I was just like, y'all some nosy ass
They
bitches.
all hangry.
Like, true. So not only was this a key element to what led to the Salem witch trials, but the Puritans had also lost political control of the Massachusetts Bay Colony not long before all of this came.
Who weren't so
out.
pure. If you know that history.
And it's still going on today. So the Puritans would be the ones actually to instigate the trials against the accused witches, and were also members of the court that convicted and sentenced the accused. But not only that, they accused other Puritans who they believed weren't pure enough or weren't following. It's just like a bunch of nosy neighbors.
But the fucking Puritans weren't even pure. Recently, within the last 2 years or something like that, I learned the history of the Puritans, and they were just like running around fucking animals. So they weren't pure. They were engaged into some like extreme sexual acts or whatever, but yet they managed to call themselves pure.
Sounds like West Virginia. Sounds like the whole middle of...
Get back to your notes before somebody complains. All
right, so again, the Puritans have lost power. There are a shitload of new people in their town. Resources are running low, but tempers are running at an all-time high. Basically, it's a slight shit show in Salem in 1692. And who is to blame for all this quarreling, as they would call it back in the day? Well, the Puritans and other people in the town believed it was a work of the devil himself trying to break Salem apart. Because who else is to blame other than yourself when shit hits the fan? You blame the devil.
I mean, they might have a point because, they were part of the settling people who did a lot of bullshit to the natives that lived there. So maybe it might have been karma. Might not have been the devil.
I don't think they know about karma.
It might have been some of the other spirits around there that weren't too happy.
I don't think karma was a word in their vocabulary.
This is true because they probably did not listen to Indian people at that point in time.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
If anything, they just killed him. But okay. So now we're going to lead or go on to the events that led to the actual witch hunt and the trials and all that. So in February of 1692, 9-year-old Betty Paris, I don't know, and 11-year-old Abigail Williams, they were cousins and were the niece of Reverend Samuel Paris, whatever, who had just been ordained minister in 1689. And he was actually not liked by the people of Salem. They thought that he was greedy and people saw him as too rigid. Which, as a Puritan, what is a rigid?
Like too stern.
Yeah, but for a Puritan?
Like cold.
But for a Puritan? Like, didn't they believe in, like, not doing anything because it was devil's work?
But didn't we just realize that what they were saying was a load of bullshit, that they was really doing all that shit?
True shit. Hypocrites.
I think it was more of a facade that they expected you to live this way, but no one actually really did it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
This is true. All right, so these girls, Betty and Abigail, began having what they referred to as fits. So they were screaming, throwing things around like rooms. They made strange sounds, crawled under furniture, and even contorted themselves into strange positions. Basically, looked like they were out of like freaking scary movie or some shit.
The Grudge.
The Grudge. Yeah. The Ring.
The Ring? Which one was it when they walked down the steps?
Ring.
Okay. Walked down the steps backwards.
Ugh. They complained of feeling like they were being pinched or pricked with pins. Doctors found no physical evidence of any disease or illness. Suddenly, other young girls in Salem began exhibiting the same similar behavior. And it wasn't long before people found their scapegoats. So we're going to start off with Tituba. So Tituba was West Indian slave of Reverend Samuel Parris, or
My
Parris.
favorite character.
And obviously, exactly, she was accused because she was black. Of course, they try and, like, they cut corners and shit on all the articles that I read, but that's, like, basically the only reason that they found her to be a witch.
I must add that the lady who played her in the movie, her accent was terrible, but that's neither here or there.
It's claimed that Tituba would talk to the young cousins about sexual encounters with demons, swaying the minds of men, fortune-telling, and this to the Puritans was the devil's work. When in reality, she was just like, hey, if you like a boy, pursue him or whatever. And of course, this was a big no-no.
I mean, they blamed her because she was black and she was West Indian, so they assumed that she dabbled in voodoo, but yeah, so.
Look, if I was brought here as a slave, I would dabble in voodoo as well.
I mean, they called anything that was, original practices voodoo.
Exactly. And black people
work.
were already seen as savages in that time.
Exactly.
So it's like anything that she did was probably seen as the devil's work.
Precisely.
All right, so the next one was Sarah Good, and she was a homeless beggar who would seek food and shelter from her neighbors and was accused of witchcraft. Simply, I'm assuming, and basically what I read and I summed up is basically they just assumed she was into that because she was homeless, she was poor, and she begged people for food. Mm-hmm. She was accused of rejecting the Puritan ideals of self-control and discipline because she would yell at the kids around town instead of trying to show them the path of salvation, as a good human would do.
No.
So her 4-year-old daughter, Dorothy, was even brought in for questioning. And of course, and she's fucking 4 years old and could probably barely put any sentences together, her answers, or lack thereof, were taken as confession, and she too would be arrested and classified as a witch.
A baby?
She would end up spending 9 months in jail, and the experience left her permanently insane.
I missed this part of the story.
Mm-hmm. This wasn't in the movies.
Or the book for that matter.
So the next one was Sarah Osborne. She rarely went to church, which in those times was like an automatic sign that you were part of the devil's circle. She was publicly accused of practicing the devil's magic because she remarried an indentured servant, and according to the Puritans, she did this for selfish reasons. So this, again, is all starting to sound like just a bunch of nosy people who have nothing better to do, and they're just in your business at all times.
Yeah, they're super judgmental and decided to slap witchcraft on everything because all she did was marry someone that may have been of a lesser class than her, but
Different color.
That's not a...
And what would be the selfish reason of marrying someone that's seen as beneath you? Like, what would be the selfish reason? There is no reason! Why you got that face?
Never mind.
You thinking about... you dirty, dirty girl.
We'll talk about that off air.
You nasty. You nasty. All right, so all 3 women were interrogated for several days beginning on March 1st, 1692. Sarah Osborne and Sarah Good were held on to their innocence, but Tituba, confessed to being a witch, saying, "The devil came to me and bid me serve him." She described seeing black dogs, red cats, yellow birds, and a black man who wanted her to sign a book. She admitted that there were several other witches looking to destroy the Puritans, but obviously she did that because she was trying to save herself. Yeah. Because the other 2 women were, I'm assuming, white, and she just had it the worst out of all.
It was one of those things with no matter what she said, they probably would still...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she was probably just trying to save herself. So Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and herself, Tituba, were sent to jail convicted of being witches. In the following months, with the witch hysteria seed planted, all sorts of accusations of witchcraft came to light. One case in particular, though, had all of Salem in a panic. That of Martha Corey, who was a loyal member of the church in Salem. She had been accused because she was skeptical about the credibility of the girl's accusations. Everyone was on high alert. If a loyal church member could be a witch, then anyone could be a witch. Not long after, actually just days, Rebecca Nurse, her sisters Sarah Cloyce and Mary Easty, Rachel Clinton, Elizabeth Proctor were also arrested. Later that same day, Elizabeth Proctor's husband, John Proctor, who you may remember from The Crucible,
movie.
Exactly, was arrested, becoming the only man, for now and at this point, to be accused of witchcraft. And he was taken in just because he was vocal about his disbelief of the accusations, and because he was trying to defend his wife. Like, that's the only reason.
Yeah. So they was like, oh, well, you must be into it as well.
Exactly. If you're defending.
A spell on you.
And now you're... So within days, Martha Corey's husband, Giles, was also taken. And then Abigail Hobbs, her father, William Hobbs, her stepmother, Deliverance Hobbs, Bridget Bishop, Mary Warren. Now, Mary Warren, little bitch, was a servant. And she was a servant and an accuser of the Proctors. So karma.
So snitching. Snitches get stitches. Basically.
Snitches get blamed for being witches and then get stitches.
Right.
See what I did there? You see what I did there? All right.
Bars.
Bars. See me. Yeah, but basically that's like the funniest part. She was like one of the prime accusers, and then this bitch is like, now you're a witch.
Right.
It's karma. So they were all taken in for examination, it was called, during that time. And actually, it's just questioning, basically. So Abigail and Deliverance Hobbs and Mary Warren confessed and started, this is in air quotes, confessed, and started naming people out of the fucking ass and claimed that there were accomplices all over Salem. So at this point, I could go on with all the names of every single person that was accused because Wikipedia did a great fucking job of naming all of them. But look, we'd be sitting here for a couple hours.
It was basically the whole town.
It was basically the whole town, and everyone's named Sarah, everyone's named Martha. Look, you look it up if need be.
You know what would be fucked up is they could accuse the whole town, and the only one that was really a witch was probably like the judge or some shit. Well, that's the only
plot twist, but not really a plot twist.
Right.
So basically, everyone in Salem was pointing fingers at each other, and they were taking whole families in for questioning for simple things that each other's neighbors considered to be wrong. And all of this was happening within like a 2-month span. Mm-hmm. Like it started in March, and this was going mid-May. Like just the whole town was in fucking trial or on trial, whatever. So it was spreading like wildfire, and even a reverend was apprehended for questioning. Mm-hmm. By the end of May 1692, a total of 62 people were in custody. There were so many people on, air quotes, trial, because up until this point, people were only going it was investigative trials. It was just they were being questioned or interrogated. They hadn't been convicted. They hadn't been given their sentences or whatever. So there were so many people that a new court was established for the surrounding areas of Suffolk, Essex, and Middlesex. Mm-hmm. Which? Middlesex? So that court was called the Special Court of Oyer and Terminer. So Oyer means to hear, and Terminer means to decide.
I thought you were going to say terminate.
What? On June 2nd, the actual trials commenced. Bridget Bishop was the first to be brought to the grand jury. Bishop was accused of not living a Puritan lifestyle, and are you ready for this? Because she wore black and had odd costumes. And what was this odd costume, you may say? It was a fucking coat that was ripped because she was fucking poor, just like everyone else.
So we would have been dead, bruh, because we wear nothing but black and we poor. So
if you look at my closet, everything is black.
Yep.
So
black.
Exactly. Plus, they claim she lived an immoral lifestyle. Again, this was according to like the Puritans. They claimed that she was a gossiper and promiscuous. Mind you, a lot of these women are like 70 years old. So if she's promiscuous at 70, girl, tell me your secret. Tell me your secret. So they convicted her, the jury convicted her of being a witch, and she was hung on June 10th, 1692, on what became known as Gallows Hill.
That sounds creepy.
Yes. And there's actually a Gallows Road in like Arlington Falls Church area if you ever want to go. And Sleepy Hollow is right off of Gallows.
Ooh, we should go.
Look.
And then drive up to New York so we can go to Amityville.
Bitch! I'm not white. 5 days later, Minister Cotton Mather wrote a letter to the court asking that spectral evidence, which were like dreams and visuals or visions of people being witches. So it's basically like, oh, I dreamt Neo was a witch, she's a witch. Or I can see her being a witch. I sense it. This was actually taken into like
having these visions make you the witch. I'm just saying.
That was me sipping my tea.
This is like very.
So exactly, how can you see that she's a witch if you're not a witch yourself? If
you smelt it, you dealt it.
Good one. Good one. All right, so this Minister Mather, again, asked this not to be taken into account. The court, of course, ignored this request and hung 5 more people in July, another 5 in August, and a total of 8 in September. So Cotton Mather's father, ready for this name? Increase Mather. So his father is Increase, the son is Cotton. Where the fuck did they pull these names out of?
That sounds like a porn star. Increase.
Stop. Pineapples. All right. So Increase also denounced the use of spectral evidence, stating that, quote, it were better that 10 suspected witches should escape than 1 innocent person be condemned. Which, like, shout out to Increase. Shout out Increase. Like, come on now.
Stop saying his name.
Increase. But it wasn't until Governor Phipps's own wife. Now, Phipps, listen here. So this Governor Phipps was actually the motherfucker that ordered that special court be established in the fucking first place. And his wife ends up being accused of witchcraft. So talk about karma. So it wasn't until his wife is being questioned that he prohibited further arrests and released many of the accused witches and then dissolved the entire court. But there were so many people still on trial and in jail that a new court was created not long after. But this court prohibited the use of spectral evidence and ultimately only condemned 3 out of the 56 defendants. By May of 1693, all who were in prison on charges of witchcraft were pardoned. In the end, 19 people were hung on Gallows Hill. An elderly man was pressed to death with heavy stones, and many others actually ended up dying while in jail. Nearly 200 people overall had been accused of witchcraft and wizardry. Shout out Harry Potter. So, following the trials, many of those involved, they were like the accusers, judges, anyone basically involved, a lot of those people publicly confessed error and guilt. In January 1697, 5 years after the whole start, the General Court of Salem ordered a day of fasting and soul searching, which I would have had a hard time soul searching because, not having a soul and all.
I had a hard time fasting. Look, I want some food. Fuck all this. I can soul search for the full belly.
But it's the 1600s in Salem. I'm pretty sure fasting was a part of their everyday.
I forgot they were hangry, so they didn't have nothing to eat anyway.
Exactly.
It just gave them more for the next day.
Exactly. So they fasted and soul searched in memory or whatever for the tragedy that occurred, which was because of them. Yeah. So, had y'all not done this in the first place, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, all y'all should have been off, too.
Thank you. In 1702, the court declared the trials unlawful, and in 1711, a bill passed which restored the rights and good names of those accused of practicing the devil's magic. Their heirs, because it had been a whole 19 fucking years since the trials, so a lot of these people were already dead. So their heirs, or if they were still alive, they were granted 600 pounds as restitution, which I don't know in that time what the fuck that was.
600 pounds?
Yeah, I don't fucking
probably
know.
a lot back then.
If they even got it, because you know how a lot of people are like, you know, like if you, like nowadays, if you win like, what is it called? If you sue somebody and you win, a lot of times you don't even get the money because they're not able to pay you. It's just like on paper, you get it, but in real life you don't. So I wonder if that happened. Anyway, it wasn't until 1957, more than 250 years later,
What the fuck?
wait, that Massachusetts formally apologized for the events of 1692. But at least they got an apology, Nia, because I feel like a lot of people in the United States are still waiting for apologies from the U.S. government of shit that happened to them. Shout out natives. Shout out African Americans. Because the government owes y'all so much fucking money. And Mexicans too, because y'all stole our land. So fuck you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Salem witches got apologies, but nobody else did.
I mean, because they'll apologize for witchcraft before they'll apologize for the
They'll
injustices
apologize
that they've done to people
to
of
white
color.
people before they apologize to anyone. They'll apologize to a fucking turtle before they apologize to anyone else. All right, so back to the case.
Get off your soapbox.
Look, I only get a little bit of spotlight here to show. So one question still lingers, Nia. What was causing all those young girls to have those fits that were interpreted as witchcraft?
They were spoiled brats.
Well, modern day scientists have narrowed it down to something called it's either ergo or ergot.
It's something in the grain of the bread. Is that what that is?
It's a fungus which can be found in rye and wheat, among other grains. So this fungus contaminated foods, or foods contaminated with this fungus can lead to muscle spasms, vomiting, delusions, and hallucinations. The fungus thrives in warm and damp climates. Salem in the 1600s and during this whole time was swampy, and rye was a staple grain during the spring and summer months.
It makes sense, and plus, I mean, I'm sure they didn't have ample ways of storing the shit like we do now. So,
or pesticides, which aren't good for you.
Either way,
but I'm sure they didn't have any natural pesticides either.
Nope.
So basically, I'm pretty sure this is all because of some fungus. This happened because of some fungus.
Makes sense.
But so I found some like cool little things as to, because like I started reading this and there was what people believed a witch was, or like what classified you as a witch. But so I started Googling like what would make you be considered a witch in 1692. I found a couple things. I narrowed it down to the most interesting or
black
funny
cat named
ones.
Salem.
His name was what was his name?
Mr. Binks.
Thackeray.
No, but
Thackeray.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh.
Her
Yeah.
cat's name is Salem.
Damn, I forgot about Sabrina.
Because most of these shows that we watch now, and movies that have to do with witches, they always grab something from the Salem witch trials.
Shout out Hocus Pocus. Yeah. So one of the
be rebooting that, by the way.
I don't want that.
Sabrina. They've already rebooted Charmed, and I'm not too interested in watching.
Sabrina's on Netflix.
Yeah, the reboot's supposed to be on.
It's already on Netflix.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't.
don't know if I want to. It looks like I don't really want to. Okay, one thing about the Charmed one. I'm sorry, guys. Sidebar. I'm happy that it's people of color because it's like it looks like some of them are black, some of them are like Latina.
Oh,
because you know, like if you ever watched the original Charmed, most of them were like half sisters. So like some of them on the show is like Latina and like some of them are black or whatever. But like I still don't know if I want to watch it.
I just
because
don't
I
feel
like the
any
original one.
Reboots are necessary nowadays.
Precisely.
It's just like different times, different things.
Right. You can just turn on the original one if you want to be entertained.
Or make something original. If you want to make something similar to Charmed, like, make your own shit.
Right.
Make your own shit. All right. So, one of the things that would consider you a witch, is that the word? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You were a woman.
It's a character.
Although there were some men who were accused and convicted, it was mainly because they defended their wives. So just being a woman would grant you... I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, in like Wiccan religion and stuff like that, they believe that women are the more powerful ones. Unlike in Christianity, where it's always
we birth you bitches,
right? Unlike Christianity, where like they always put the men at the head. In Wiccan religion, it's the woman, like because like the connection to the earth, Mother Earth, that kind of thing.
I also read something that said that like apparently during these times they believed that like the devil could have more influence on women because they were bigger sinners.
I mean, they always said that because it goes back to the original sin when Adam and Eve gave Adam the apple or whatever. But I saw something online.
But Adam didn't have a brain?
Listen here, wait a minute. I don't know if this is true or not because it's been a minute since I read the Bible, but I saw something online where it said that God actually told Adam not to eat the apple, but not Eve. That makes sense. But not Eve. So Eve was allowed to eat the shit. He should have just been like, nah, bitch, I don't want the apple. Because Pop said not to.
He wanted another apple.
I don't know if that's true, but if that's the case, then it was his own fault. But yeah, it seemed like ever since, because the Puritans and other societies followed, Christianity, that whole story always made it seem like women were more easily influenced by the devil and all that type of stuff.
But isn't the devil a man? Ain't that...
No, but I meant like the devil may be a man, but he can influence a woman. Yeah. Like a woman is more susceptible to what the devil wants. True. That's what they claim.
So, being a woman, if you were poor or elderly, which makes no fucking sense, but okay. If you had more than one female friend, you would be considered a witch. Because any group of women seen congregating without a male present were deemed a coven meeting to worship the fucking devil. Which, I mean, I guess that would benefit us. We don't really have friends. I don't have friends. I don't have girlfriends like that. You're like my only girlfriend.
I mean, I have a few, but...
Y'all be covening? Is that a verb?
I think the only person I would coven with is probably like you and Ashley.
Shout out Ashley. Yeah.
The other two I don't think would dabble in that shit.
I feel like Ashley would like judge us at first and then be like,
sure,
the head honcho, right?
He's the leader.
Exactly.
Supreme. Ashley's the supreme.
Yes. She's like the low-key supreme. So, also another thing that would like consider whatever. If you exhibited stubborn, strange, or forward behavior. So we'd be the head witches.
So basically anything
that we do.
The characteristics of what a witch would be is basically anything that makes you a strong, independent woman, basically.
That don't need no man.
Right.
Who wears black. That's it.
That's it.
I know this one was funny. I was just like, damn, if you had a mole, a birthmark, or a third nipple, I have all three. Yeah, yours is...
I got a big... So, like...
Hers looks like a galaxy.
Yeah, on my leg, it does look like a galaxy, so they probably would be tripping.
Yes, they'd be trying to connect, like... You probably be like 10 witches in one or some shit.
Probably. Ooh, maybe I'm the supreme.
Yo.
Wait, you have a third nipple?
I have a third nipple. It's not like super noticeable. I'll show you later.
That's so funny.
It's weird. Yes, I have a third nipple and it hurts sometimes.
Wow.
So any of these could be interpreted as the devil's mark, and some claim that this is where a witch's familiar, which was like their animal partner.
Yes.
So it could be a dog, a cat, or a snake would attach itself to drink blood. Which, what the fuck? And also the last one that I thought was funny, like this isn't like a full list, there's like a lot more, but this is just what I thought was funny. Having sex out of wedlock.
That's everybody, bruh.
That was everyone in town,
right? Because weren't they all fucking pigs?
Weren't the men the worst?
Yep. But you know another one.
Why isn't bestiality one of the things?
Because it was okay to them. So. But you know what else? I remember reading that they consider some of these people witches were the midwives. They would just assume.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but how does it? It's needed. Like, they're doing a service, but because they would treat because midwives had to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And they would treat them with, like, herbs and stuff like that because, you know, this was before the big medical
before
industry.
antibiotics and shit.
They had to learn the earth, and that's another characteristic of a witch, is that they tend to know how to mix what they consider potions and spells, but really it's just medicine. It's natural medicine. Like, and that's what I mean by, like, they try to slap anything as witchcraft or voodoo or whatever.
Anything that was, like, advanced or anything that was, like, outside of, like, their ignorance.
But
was,
you gotta
like,
think
seen
about
as witchcraft.
where they came from, because
it was all Christian based.
Right, but also Europe had a lot of diseases, and they probably didn't know how to cure them. But then when they came to the Americas,
with the Native Americans,
who knew how to take care of their cells and their diseases, you know, before they knew how to make, you know, there's always one, you know, people may call them witch doctors, but there's always someone who knew how to make the medication. Yeah. Same thing in, like, Africa, when they stole the natives of Africa.
And it's only called witch doctors because the Christians and the colonizers and all decided, we're like, oh, this is devil's work or some shit. Exactly. But that devil's work is what saved your asses.
But you know this as well as I do, being of, like, Latin and Caribbean descent, a lot of the things that our moms do at home were passed down generations, which may have been considered witchcraft at that time, but we still all do that shit. Exactly. Why the fuck you think grandma or abuela's always telling you to drink tea all the goddamn time for, like, the smallest shit?
Or sage the house, some shit. This is why you modern day so-called little witches that be out here saging. Look, you're taking this all from our ancestors who actually believed in it, and now y'all want to do this shit. Yeah. Fight me, bitch.
But I do think it's cool that a lot of us are getting back in touch with that.
Brown people.
But
that's it.
But yeah. But that was dope, because there were some things in there that I did not know. Like the poor baby that was...
Yeah, that was really sad.
How the fuck is a baby a witch?
And how the fuck do you question her for, like, days on end? Like, in the 1600s, she could barely speak.
She probably was like...
I'm sure.
Juice. They probably like...
They didn't even have juice in that time, I'm sure.
She was like... They were like, so... What... how did you put a spell on so-and-so? Fruit snacks. What? Like, if it was modern day, they'll probably just be like, bubble guppies? Like, they don't fucking... The kid don't know shit.
Like, that makes no fuck... But it just, like, leads you to how, like, blinded these people were by, like, stupidity.
I really think everybody was affected by that grain in that town. It's just that some of them had more severe reactions to it.
I wonder if Poppy was like...
They was getting lit. Mm-hmm. Somebody came across a marijuana bush. That's what happened.
And I bet my left imaginary nut that these Native Americans were in the bushes, like,
dying laughing.
Look at these motherfuckers.
Like, we could have helped y'all a long time ago.
But y'all killed us, so...
You want to bring these filthy ass smallpox over here.
And gonorrhea and shit.
Syphilis. You know most of the STDs, that's how they got it.
From the white boat. All right, Nia. It's your turn.
Yeah, let's get off of our boxes again. Okay, so we're done with the witches.
Yes.
One of my favorite things.
Exactly.
And now we're on to one of my other favorite things. Vampires.
Yeah, shout out Dracula.
I want to drink your blood.
Mm-hmm.
Or Count
It's
Dracula.
funny because, like, I had researched, like, to do the whole story behind, like, Dracula, but it got boring. Because they wanted to go into, like, the whole wars between, like, their whole... No, I'm not...
He wasn't a real...
Exactly. It was just, like, the folklore behind it.
Yeah. He did drink blood, though, I believe, but he wasn't an actual vampire.
Yeah, and he impaled people, but...
And had their heads on stakes in front of his house.
If you want to know, like, the history of him or whatever, you guys should really watch Scariest Places on Earth, where they go to Dracula's, like, castle. Mm-hmm. That shit is A1.
Yes.
All right.
Steak sauce.
Yes.
On the steak.
All right, Nia, focus.
I'm sorry. I've been on a diet and I'm like, want everything. But anyway, I am covering Rod Ferrell and the Vampire Clan murders.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this one, it was a whole hell of a lot of information that I really hope I do this justice. If I don't, please, I really do encourage you to research this on your own. Get the books, watch a few of the documentaries. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really, really good. It's pretty interesting. So, basically, basically, the clan consisted of Rod, the leader, Heather Windorf, Dana Cooper, Scott Anderson, and Charity Keeney. Okay, so those are the peoples in there. Make sure y'all remember these names. So, on March 28th, 1980, so he's 7 years older than me.
That's when he was born?
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Roderick Justin Farrell was born to a 16-year-old mother.
God damn.
Sandra Gibson in Murray, Kentucky.
If you hear crunching, it's me.
I held back, bro.
Well, I'm sorry.
She and his father divorced after only being married for 3 weeks. I'm assuming it was like a shotgun situation.
Oh my god.
And Rod only saw his father on rare occasions, like, here, there, whatever. Rod's mom was a single mother who rather spend time with her friends than take care of her child. And when questioned about her behavior and who she hung around, she would threaten her father with death by her drug dealer friends.
What the fuck?
Yep. And not only did she hang around...
And this was his mother?
Yeah. So his mom would threaten to kill her father for asking her why the hell she wasn't in the house taking care of the child.
Taking care of her child?
Yeah.
It sounds like 16 and pregnant.
Yeah. I hate you, Mom.
For taking care of my child and me.
Right. So not only was she hanging around like the drug dealers and whoever else, the other people around town, she also was into vampire lore. So the mom watched a lot of the movies and like all that stuff. Like she and Roger actually shared a lot of the same interests. Because, they were friends instead of a parent situation.
Look.
So, Rod spent most of his time with his grandparents. And they moved around often. Normally between Kentucky and Florida. And I'm like, maybe that's what's really wrong with him. The fact that he lived in Florida. But
and Kentucky?
It was said that... So, I don't know how accurate this is. But I read somewhere that he was molested as a child during a black mass that his grandfather held. So...
What the fuck is a black mass?
Like, devil stuff?
I had no idea.
I don't know.
So this kid was just like...
Fucked up from the start?
Fucked up from the start.
But I'm not too sure about this part. So... But that's what I read on one of my sources, and it said that basically his whole family was pretty much into the occult and like dark things.
Oh Lord!
So basically, there was no surprise that Rod enjoyed games like Dungeons and Dragons and the game Vampire the Masquerade, which I've never heard of.
I don't think that's real.
He was expelled from high school in the 9th grade and was using both LSD and weed by the time that he was the age of 14.
Yeah, in the documentary we watched, his mom talks about him like, yeah, when he used to do meth and heroin and all this, and I was just like, so, why are you talking about like he's so like
casual?
Yeah, he just played basketball after school. Like, no, he just did heroin.
Maybe her friends were his supplier and they also get high together.
Maybe his mom was his supplier.
Maybe. So he eventually moved on to coke and heroin, sometimes at the same damn time.
Good Lord.
When he was high on these things, he would fly into fits of rage and break furniture and punch holes in the wall and cuss his mama out, just different things like that.
Sounds like a regular white person.
He suffered from emotional problems and would switch moods randomly.
You don't say.
Right. I don't think those were emotional problems, probably because he was going through withdrawals.
Thank you.
So by the age of 15, he had convinced himself that he was a 500-year-old vampire named Visago.
Get the fuck out of here.
In high school, in Kentucky, because he actually went to high school in Florida too, but we're talking about Kentucky right now.
Oh, Lord.
He met a group of kids who also enjoyed playing that vampire game claimed it as a lifestyle.
Oh.
He became obsessed with the game and convinced himself, I just already said this, that he was a vampire himself, and began hanging around cemeteries.
Because why not?
Sure, that's what vampires do.
I mean, what else is there to do in Kentucky? Which makes no sense.
Because why would vampires hang out in the cemetery? There's nothing living there for you to drink the blood of.
Thank you.
We're too logical for this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I left out that he had a childhood friend by the name of Scott Anderson. He's one of the things, but they hung out with each other a lot, and they actually shared a lot of the same interests.
And let me just say, these kids looked like they didn't bathe at all.
Nope.
At all.
They probably bathed in blood or something.
Ah!
So Scott's brother was reported saying that Sam, so his brother's name was Sam, I'm sorry. And he recalled Rod telling him that he was a vampire and that one night he took him to a cemetery where they talked about human sacrifices.
What do you mean talked about? Like, what?
I'd been like, nah, bro, you...
okay.
Yeah, so...
Damn, look over there. And just like, hey.
So we going back to the house or nah? Like, I'm not going to say...
That's cool, bro.
Yeah. Interesting. So, soon after that, he began bloodletting rituals and claimed himself the Prince of Darkness and a son of Satan. He would use razors and put 3 cuts into his arm and allow others to suck up his blood.
Which, unsanitary. If you're a vampire, drink chicken's blood or something.
Then they're gonna die. What is that, E. coli? Or what's the other one?
Isn't human blood just as bad?
I mean, you might get the head. All right. Or houses in Virginia. Some people like to... Look. I prefer to say the head. But first time I heard that, I was like, what? It took me a second.
What's wrong with the houses in Virginia?
It really took me a second. But yeah, so he would allow others to suck his blood. And apparently he kind of grew tired of the rules of his circle of friends. And he felt they were holding him back.
What rules are there?
Probably
sucking
because
blood.
I feel like it was probably because they viewed all that stuff as fantasy, and he was taking it way too fucking serious.
True.
And he left that group, but he still kept up with Scott, of course. And he set out to look for people more like him, and start his cult. So he began communicating with some of the people he met while he lived in Florida previously. And one of them was Heather Wendorf. And some of the sources said that they actually dated when they lived in Florida. But again, that's a little sketchy there.
That's what I read too.
Yeah. And he actually introduced her to vampire worship. They said that soon after meeting him, that she began dressing all black and dyeing her hair. Sometimes wild colors like purple and like red, or other times just straight up black. It was said that she would brag to others about her new lifestyle and being a vampire. Another boyfriend of hers was quoted saying she enjoyed and got pleasure from drinking her and other people's blood.
Ugh.
And she also told him once that you could have the best sex only after a blood drink.
You never had drunk sex, girl?
I haven't, but maybe it's
well, let me tell you.
Wrong podcast. That's because I don't be getting
Listen
drunk.
here.
I've had sex with a drunk person, and that was great, actually. But that's because he was off, like... Okay,
I understand the Henny.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a long night.
All right, enough.
Okay, so... Another member of his crew was Dana Cooper, who lived in Kentucky. Who lived in Kentucky with him. She shared Rod's passion for vampires and actually encouraged him. She hipped him to a frequent hangout of theirs, which was the Murray's Vampire Hotel.
Is that real?
Yeah, it wasn't really a hotel, but it was a concrete skeleton of a building that was located on a hill.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Above town, with views of the lake or something like that. And it was described as like a chilling place, hidden in the woods. And the building was actually spray painted with vampiric ritual words, even before they started hanging out there. So apparently other people was into that shit. And they said actually in that time, like that time in the 90s, there was like an influx of like...
This is like right after the West Memphis 3 shit.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't heard that episode, check it out. It's like 2 episodes ago.
Check it out.
Go back.
But yeah, they said at that time, like if you did like a quick search online, like you could see that there was an influx of like these type of groups going around, which was kind of weird. It's
People
like,
were bored.
Yeah.
There's no cell phones.
Or they really just had no minds. Because this is the thing. I hate when people try to blame media for their bullshit. But I really feel like, because wasn't Buffy the Vampire Slayer out at this time and like other shows like that? I really feel like these people have no minds of their own. And they just go about like, I'm going to copy this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
there's always that like 1 or 2 or 3 people that like want to take it to the fucking extreme because they have issues.
Yeah.
And they just like want to feed off of that and use that as like an excuse for shit.
I blame parents. You need to teach your kids the difference between entertainment
social
and reality.
media, TV is not to blame. It's the fucking parents.
Yep.
That's what it is at the end of the day. That's our PSA.
So what was I at? So so basically that's what the building was like. And according to Rod's mother, Dana, Rod, Scott, and Charity, and I left out Charity is a member of the clan or whatever, but she actually ran away with Scott and Rod for about a week once, but were tracked down by police because of Scott's mom. Scott's mom really ain't bang with Rod, so she knew something was up with him. Whatever. But back to Rod's mom, she said that Dana, Rod, and Scott and Charity would actually go to the Vampire Hotel and practice sexual torture. And how does the mom know? Well, she was there.
What?
I had to be all extra with that. But yeah, the mom was there. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But remember I said that they were into some of the same shit.
Wait, she was there with her son and these kids?
Yeah, like I don't know if she was like engaging in the activity, but she was there in the building while they were doing the shit.
Regardless if she was engaging or not. What the fuck?
Yeah, his mom, I'll give y'all a little bit more information about his mom. His mom was actually very much into this vampire lifestyle as well. And I read somewhere that she was actually married to a guy at one point who changed his first name to some vampire word or some shit. I don't know.
So what you're telling me is she probably fucked her son.
Well, I mean, it might be. It might be.
Because this is what it's sounding like at this point.
Yep. But we'll get back to his mom in the after.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay, so Rod racked up hundreds of dollars in phone bills due to long distance calls he made to the members of his coven, or are vampires considered covens? I don't know. But the members of his
pack.
Yeah. And together they came up with a plan to go to New Orleans, where Rod claimed there was a community of vampires and they were supposed to like get an apartment and live there and drink each other's blood and shit.
Oh God.
So let's get into the matter. Rod, Scott, Charity, and Dana left for Daytona Beach, Florida, where they were going to pick up Heather, and then I guess head to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. When they reached Florida, the car they drove, which was Rod's car, broke down. So they decided to steal Heather's parents' truck, and she told Rod where the keys were in her parents' bedroom, and that she would leave the garage door open for them so they can go get, the keys. But before this happened, Heather wanted to participate in a blood ritual because she had not been able to do that before. They went to a local cemetery, cut each other, and fed on each other's blood. In the documentary, she said that he actually put it in a cup and put a little bit of water, I guess, to loosen it up. And they drank it.
Y'all ever tried that with some Henny? I'm sorry.
Go down.
All right, I'm sorry.
And they also took drugs, and they said it might have been acid. The girls also popped some pills or whatever.
Of course, per usual.
After the ritual was complete, they returned to the house to, go about taking the truck. Mm-hmm. So it was about 9-10 o'clock at the time. And the boys entered the garage and they actually had wooden sticks in their hands at first. But because they feared, they had them in their hand because they feared that Heather's father would wake up or hear them or whatever, because it wasn't really that late. Yeah. But then Rod realized that the sticks really weren't going to do shit to protect them from somebody. And he also, at that point, from the documentary, it was when he decided he wanted to kill her parents. Now, when he got into the garage, he looked around and he found a crowbar. And
here we go.
When they entered the main part of the house, they saw Heather's father fast asleep on the couch. They snuck past him and went to the back of the bedroom to find the keys, but they didn't. So it was said that Rod just started going into one of those fits that we talked about that he had earlier when he was on drugs. and began hitting the father in the head repeatedly with the crowbar. I must note that Heather shared many secrets with Rod. She told him that she was also abused in her home and wanted it to stop. She described her home life as hell. Some sources say that he asked her if she wanted them to die, and some said that she said yes, some say that she said no, and I think she came out and said somewhere later on that she never said that she wanted that.
That's like one thing when we were watching the documentary that like I brought up to you, where it's like the things I read and I saw made it seem or sound like she had a lot more to do with the murder or with why the murders happened than like certain other outlets let it out to be. Because she, like, not to like cut you off or whatever, she ends up like not having the charges. Yeah. Compared to like everyone else. Because it's her parents and she puts on this show, I guess, to like be like, oh, my parents or whatever, where it's like, is she really believable? Like, how did you not know this was going to happen? Right. Kind of thing.
So as I was saying, that he went crazy. He was beating the father in the head. And in the middle of the beating, Rod and Scott stopped and actually danced around the father. They said that the father was actually still alive at this time. So they were dancing, getting their life, and then once they were done, Rod finished the father off with a few more blows. So while this happened, the mother walked into the room. Her name is, I believe it's pronounced Naomi. She walked into the room and she stood in a bathrobe, hair all messed up with a coffee cup. And Rob reportedly told her to run for her life, but he says in the documentary that he said nothing and that she had just threw coffee in his face and he began beating her with the same crowbar that was used on the husband. They said that the mother was beaten so badly that you could actually see her brainstem. But the part that confuses me is he says he didn't say anything to her, but it's clear that she had to run because she was hitting the back of her head. Like, he didn't hit her in the front. Unless she hit her once and she turned around.
But, like, if she came up and saw what was happening, she probably, like, ran.
Maybe.
Like, because if I see someone getting the shit beat out of them, I'm turning around and I'm
calling ass.
Because you're dead. There's nothing I can do to save you. So now...
So once the couple was dead, Rod managed to find the keys, grabbed a shotgun, and drove off with Scott to pick up the girls and head out of town. The bodies of Heather's parents were found by her older sister when she arrived home. The clan drove for 4 days through 4 states. And they were stopped 5 times by the police, but were not arrested until Charity's mother told them of their whereabouts. She had contacted her mother thinking that she would help them because they were out of money. So she was like saying, can you wire us some money and things like that. And they were finally met at the Howard Johnson Hotel in New Orleans on Thanksgiving Day by law enforcement. Damn, they didn't get no turkey or stuff.
They don't deserve no turkey. They like blood anyway.
Sure. Instead of gravy, it's and they were held at the Baton Rouge jail for a week before taken back to Florida. On February 12th of 1998, Rod pled guilty to the murder of Heather's parents and said that the others were innocent. His attorney... This part, again, I find a little sketchy, but it said his attorney tried to argue that Rod was insane. Court psychologists diagnosed him as a schizopal... What is that?
Schizotypal personality disorder.
Thank you. I could read it last night. Didn't happen just now. And that
Asperger's.
They also thought that he had Asperger's. Sometimes I think I got Asperger's, but so he was sentenced.
You got Ashy Burgers?
Yep, Ashy Burgers. I don't know. Sometimes I do think I'm on the spectrum though, because it's a wide spectrum.
I feel like we have too much common sense for the regular folk. Maybe. Because like if you watch that show, what was it called? Atypical.
Yeah.
It's like I can relate to him where he's just like, what? Like he's unimpressed or he's just like, what?
But even like down to like not wanting to be touched or liking routine and stuff like that.
Who doesn't like that though? And who likes being touched? Unless we're about... Never mind. All right. Anyways, Nia, yes? Madam?
Anywho... So, he was sentenced to death by electric chair, but was later commuted to life in prison. Which I had mentioned to Myra earlier. Like, I don't understand how this death thing works. Like, why do you put them on death row? If they're sentenced to death, why not take them in a room and kill them like immediately? Or
because the prison system is all private.
Or like the next day. But I will say it's beneficial for those who are actually wrongfully convicted.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess I get it.
But the whole prison system is like a private corporation. So the more people you have in jail for a longer time, the more money these private corporations get, and the government and all that shit.
And
it's a setup.
Labor.
It's all politics. It's some bullshit. Fuck America. Yeah.
Let's not say that about it. Don't need FBI at my door. So
come at me.
No. So Charity was convicted of... She was actually the youngest of the group. I think she was like 14 or something like that. Oh my God. I hope y'all don't hear that. So
wait,
Charity...
but that's the one that called her mom? Mm-hmm. Okay.
She was like 14, and from what I was understanding, like, she said that he was just like very like... He has that personality that's very convincing or domineering or whatever. They can kind
Look, I don't understand that.
She could be manipulated into a lot of stuff because she's naive.
But murder is a whole different thing.
Yeah. But I mean, she technically was not there when it happened, which was kind of interesting to me that they actually didn't go lenient on some of the people that weren't even there. Because like I was getting into, Charity was convicted of 2 counts of third-degree murder and robbery, but she didn't murder anybody. And she served 10.5 years in jail, and she was released in 2006 due to some law changes or whatever. They said at one point she was caught drinking another inmate's blood.
Well, see, that's why she was in prison.
They knew, no, this one can't go. This one crazy.
And like another thing is like if they were like a little vampire gang group, I don't know what the fuck the actual name is. You can't like. I guess what the prosecution was looking at is like if you're so close knit that you're traveling together and you've been together every single day since you guys met, you can't tell exactly. You can't tell me that you were completely blind and you didn't know anything that was happening. It's like. Mm-hmm.
So Dana also received 2 counts of third-degree murder and robbery, and she served 17.5 years in jail, and she was released in 2011.
Damn.
Scott got 2 consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. Mm-hmm. And Heather was actually cleared of her parents' murder, which I don't understand.
Thank you.
In 1997, and as of 2006 is married and living out of state. I was about to say something real problematic, but
say it.
I was going to say white people can get married from anything. Like, I don't understand. Like, they, like, you know, I just feel like, not to get all preachy, but I feel like us, like people of color, they're always like, oh, well, you don't have a man because you don't do this or you do that or your history or blah, 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 blah. But bitches are like vampires killing their damn parents.
Exactly. And they can find a man.
Right. Or like white women are allowed to be promiscuous and still get married. Or just like, okay, off my soapbox again. So.
You told me to get off my box.
Let's get into a little bit of afters.
Excellent.
Okay, so here's a little bit more. This part's a little bit gruesome, so I'm sorry, guys.
What I've been waiting for.
So these murders were not Rod's first run-in with the law.
Oh.
When the investigation became public, something else came out in the news.
Oh, fuck.
Rod and Scott were accused of breaking into an animal shelter and attacking over 50 animals.
They probably fucked him too.
I hope not. The worst of which were 2 puppies who were tortured, killed, and mutilated.
Aww.
The bodies of the puppies were found in the middle of a circle that was made from like trample grass. You know, like you step and make a circle. And it was like shaped in like a ritualistic type circle or whatever. And another puppy was actually put to sleep because its hind legs were ripped off.
Oh my fucking God.
It was said that the legs were never found. And when Rod was questioned, he had small cuts all over his arms, which he admitted was from the vampire rituals. And he then told the cops that he belonged to a group called the Vampire Clan.
That might be more disturbing than the murders themselves.
I know! When I was reading it, I was just like, not the puppies! What did the puppies do to you? But when I first read about this, it was in like this study they were doing about like how a lot of serial killers start off killing animals and things like that. Yes. And then also in the documentary, they mentioned several times that like they were in somewhere with him and he was like petting a cat and threw it against the wall and killed it.
Yeah, he threw he killed the cat by like, what is it? Slamming it against a tree. Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that they were hanging out at the Vampire Hotel when that happened. So, one other after is, you guys remember me mentioning his mom, right?
This is what I'm here for.
All right.
His mom who probably fucked him.
Rod's mom was arrested in 1997, a year after those other crimes had happened. She was charged with criminal solicitation to commit rape in the 3rd degree and criminal solicitation to commit sodomy in the 3rd degree.
Sorry. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. She was writing explicit letters to a 14-year-old boy. She was 34 at the time. In the letter, she wrote that she wanted the 14-year-old...
Oh no, we're about to get dirty, aren't we?
to cross her over while having sex. So...
What does that mean?
For you all who were equally as confused as me and Maya were...
like in basketball?
Break the ankles.
Exactly. What the fuck does that mean?
Crossover in Freak Nasty Vampire language refers to the blood drinking ritual that transforms a person into a vampire.
Pineapples.
So basically, I guess she wanted him to sire her or vice versa or whatever. But basically, they wanted to fucking drink blood at the same time. Well, that's what she wanted to do. I don't know if the boy really wanted to do it or not. But his mama was a
He's a freak.
Yep.
Nope. See, nah, they fucked.
You think?
I'm convinced.
Well,
in the pictures that they showed in the documentary, they look pretty cozy together.
Yes, they did.
I'm just saying.
I don't know, but like I mentioned, please read the book.
Read the book, watch the documentary. The documentary is actually an HBO like production, just like the West Memphis 3 ones.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
found it on HBO.
Yeah, we didn't know.
Yeah.
It's like directed, produced in the same style, so it's very interesting.
Very 90s. There's also a movie based off of this too.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
damn.
If we might have a movie night, we might watch it.
Yeah. All right. So that was this episode of AntiSocial Murder Club.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we didn't preach too much for you guys this episode. But
deal with it.
Yep. That's Mara's response to everything.
That's my response to everything. Just deal with it.
Well, that's why we get angry tweets, but you know. Deal with it. But anyway, as usual, make sure you follow us everywhere on
Instagram,
Twitter,
SoundCloud,
Facebook,
Apple Podcasts,
YouTube.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so too. And make sure you write us. We haven't got any letters, guys. Write us.
Yes, let us know anything, really.
Yeah.
Anything.
Email is antisocialmurderclub@gmail.com.
And also, thank you for listening. We've got a lot of listens lately. Our numbers have been jumping, which we greatly appreciate.
Yes, we love you guys.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for listening to our bullshit. We love it. Mm-hmm. No one really listens to us. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Because no one loves us in real life.
All right. Thank you so much. See you next week. We'll see you when we see you.
Yeah, because we might be having a Halloween party, so we might not come on.
Might be drunk as fuck if you come on.
All right, guys.
Bye.
See you next time.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.